Why are you being racist to other people in other countries? For money! For clout!
I've said it many times. I don't give a fuck. I have no morals. I'm a fucking sociopath. I don't give a fuck.
Johnny Somali has found himself in deep trouble in South Korea, where he's now under arrest. The events leading to his detention have triggered outrage across the nation, and for good reason. Here's the full story. From the moment Johnny Somali arrived in South Korea, he managed to attract attention for all the wrong reasons. His actions quickly drew public scrutiny as he shared a series of bizarre and blatantly disrespectful videos online. However, the controversy took a shocking turn when he set his sights on one of South Korea's most iconic and symbolic landmarks, the Statue of Peace. This statue, a poignant tribute to the victims of Japanese colonial rule, carries immense historical and emotional weight for the Korean people. Yet, Somali, in a move that left many outraged, decided to defile this symbol. He recorded himself kissing the statue and performing exaggerated mocking dances around it, turning what should have been a moment of reverence into a spectacle for social media clout. The sheer disrespect sent shockwaves through the public, but the outrage didn't stop him. It only seemed to fuel his actions. Instead of apologising or retreating after the uproar, Somali doubled down on his behaviour. When the initial video began to gain attention, he reportedly commented that he saw the backlash as an opportunity for more exposure. In a stunning escalation, he returned to the statue, engaging in even more inflammatory actions. This time, he polished parts of the monument with oil while making snide remarks, further offending viewers who were already reeling from his earlier antics. The public's anger only intensified, as many saw his actions not just as an insult to a monument, but as a direct affront to the history and pain it memorialises. This act crossed a major line for many, as it was seen as a blatant disregard for the deep cultural and historical importance of the statue. The backlash was immediate and explosive. Social media platforms lit up with outrage as users began tagging South Korean authorities, demanding immediate action. The outcry was relentless, leaving Johnny Somali with no way to escape the mounting pressure for accountability. Public fury against Somali hit a fever pitch, with widespread calls for him to face justice. Many pointed out that this wasn't his first brush with controversy. Similar stunts had followed him during his time in Japan. His pattern of disrespect and provocation had long gone unchecked, but now the consequences were catching up with him. Matters escalated dramatically on October 24th, when Somali had a tense encounter with locals. Frustrated by his ongoing behaviour, a group reportedly attacked him, leaving him visibly shaken. While some might argue that his actions provoked the backlash, the incident underscored just how fed up the community had become with his repeated offences. But this was far from the end of his troubles. Merely 3 days later, on October 27th, Somali was involved in another altercation with locals. This time, the confrontation was even more severe and reportedly left him injured. The growing hostility was a clear sign that his behaviour had driven people to their breaking point. Somali's situation was spiralling rapidly, and tensions were at an all-time high. Then, the stakes climbed even further. A prominent Korean YouTuber entered the fray, intensifying the search for Somali and raising the drama to an entirely new level. The community's determination to hold him accountable had turned into a full-fledged movement, and Somali's future was looking more precarious than ever. The YouTuber raised the stakes significantly, offering a reward of 2 million won, around $2,000, for any information on Johnny Somali's whereabouts. The bounty quickly amplified the search efforts, with rumours swirling that Somali might be hiding in a hospital. Yet, his troubles didn't stop there. Soon, South Korean authorities began receiving reports tying Somali to alleged drug use, a development that further complicated his situation. These allegations gave the police the opening they needed to intensify their investigation into Somali's activities. What started as public outrage had now escalated into a serious legal battle. If the drug charges are substantiated, Somali could face a prison sentence exceeding 10 years under South Korea's strict drug laws. Even if he avoids significant jail time, the possibility of a hefty fine looms large, estimated at around 95,000 won. However, considering the gravity of the case and the growing public backlash, it seems unlikely that authorities will settle for just a fine. Somali's situation worsened further when it was confirmed that he has been officially banned from leaving South Korea. This means he will remain in the country until every legal issue is thoroughly resolved, a daunting and potentially lengthy process, given the mounting evidence and the fervent public outrage surrounding his actions. Adding to the fury, Somali's conduct struck a nerve that went far beyond simple disrespect. His actions targeted some of the most cherished and sacred symbols of South Korea's culture and history, desecrating them in ways that many found utterly appalling. On top of that, Somali appeared to be profiting from this chaos, leveraging his behaviour to create viral content for his audience. The combination of blatant disrespect, legal violations, and shameless self-promotion has painted Somali as a figure of national scorn, leaving little doubt that South Korean authorities and the public alike are determined to see justice served. This isn't the first time Johnny Somali has landed himself in hot water. He has a track record of stirring controversy, including facing legal consequences in Japan for similarly reckless stunts. Many believe he left a sour impression on people's experiences of Japan with his disruptive antics. However, South Korea has shown far less tolerance for his behaviour. Somali now finds himself effectively trapped in the country, contending not only with legal repercussions, but also an overwhelming wave of public outrage. As if his situation couldn't get worse, reports suggest that Somali might not even find safety if he ends up in prison. Many South Koreans, deeply offended by his insults to their cultural icons, are unlikely to forgive or forget his actions. Speculation has grown that other prisoners, fully aware of what Somali has done, may make his time behind bars extremely difficult. One Reddit user weighed in on the matter, commenting, "I don't think it's that bad in general, but it won't be nice for Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, because of his ethnicity, and because other prisoners will know what he has done." These observations paint a grim picture of Somali's chances for a peaceful stay, even in incarceration, and cast doubt on whether he can leave South Korea safely after all this. Yet, few people seem to feel any sympathy for him. Time and time again, Somali has ignored the consequences of his actions, showing little to no remorse or willingness to change. This isn't just about one offensive video or an isolated incident. Somali has a long history of causing disturbances. Last year, he created chaos on a subway, an incident that ended with his forced removal. And he didn't stop there. He later caused a commotion in a convenience store, disrupting both the staff and customers around him. His repeated disregard for social norms and respect for others has left him with little support as his troubles escalate in South Korea. Johnny Somali's antics went beyond being a mere annoyance. They actively disrupted the lives of others, all in the pursuit of clout. Now, it seems his relentless behaviour has finally caught up with him. Trapped in South Korea, a country that takes such offences seriously, Somali is facing the full consequences of his actions with no easy way out. When Somali was eventually confronted and beaten up, public reactions were overwhelmingly unsympathetic. For many, it was a long overdue reckoning. People hoped the incident would serve as a wake-up call, teaching him a harsh lesson about respecting others and understanding the dangers of provoking the wrong crowd. Under the video of the altercation, commenters didn't hesitate to share their thoughts. One bluntly remarked, "He deserved it, he's been acting like a complete idiot. They should throw him out of Korea." Another took a more humorous jab, writing, "Every time they attack him, it's just one wimpy punch and a shove. Come on, where's the real action?" Others even offered advice for those standing up to him. One commenter urged, "Come on, my Korean brothers, be smarter about this. Wait until you're away from the police station, then make it count." The discussions surrounding Somali's case continued to heat up, fueled by a mix of frustration and dark humour. Amid the uproar, an unexpected revelation surfaced that surprised many. A user pointed out, "BTW, he's Ethiopian Jew, not Somali, so stop calling him Somali." The comment left people puzzled, as Somali's chosen moniker had led most to believe he was from Somalia. This detail only added another layer of complexity to the controversial figure. sparking new debates about his identity and motives. Somali's reputation, already battered by his disrespectful antics, now faced even greater scrutiny as both his actions and his identity came under public dissection. Intrigued by the ongoing controversy, some individuals began digging deeper, and their discoveries only added fuel to the fire. One comment exposed a shocking truth about Johnny Somali's identity. He's not Somali at all. He admitted he picked the name because it would make going viral easier, and because he hates Somalis. He thought it would be funny if they got blamed for his antics. This revelation cast Somali in an even more troubling light. His actions weren't just disrespectful, they were rooted in intentional malice and hatefulness. Reports have even suggested that his behaviour has been so offensive that he could face legal consequences if he ever steps foot in Somalia. His name is now associated with chaos, narcissism, and a trail of international disdain. Many view him as a figure who thrives on disorder, deliberately pushing boundaries in foreign countries to grab attention. His pattern has become unmistakable: create controversy, face legal trouble, and eventually get deported, all in the pursuit of staying relevant. With each new incident, Somali seems to solidify his reputation as someone who not only disrespects cultures, but also goes out of his way to provoke outrage deliberately. This time, however, the backlash has been fierce and swift, leaving Somali in a precarious and inescapable position. Unlike before, where controversy brought him some level of online support, this time it seems the public has reached its breaking point. Somali appears to be counting on his followers to rally behind him, but the tide has shifted dramatically. Comments in his favour are almost non-existent, drowned out by an overwhelming wave of frustration and disdain. The public has grown tired of his antics, and his attempts to stay relevant through provocation now seem to be leading him toward a path of irreparable consequences. Somali may have built his online persona on chaos, but it's clear this time he's pushed too far. Johnny Somali has managed to offend not just one nation but multiple countries, drawing the ire of millions of people while still finding ways to post his outrageous antics online. His behaviour has tested boundaries in ways that few could have imagined. Amid the uproar, one user brought up an interesting perspective on his punishment. Usually, troublemaking foreigners just get deported, so what's the point of keeping someone like him in a Korean prison? It costs taxpayers money, and deporting him would be too easy. He wouldn't learn anything from it. This view resonated with many, especially considering Somali's history. Japan, for instance, let him off with relative ease after his previous inflammatory behaviour, a decision that some believe emboldened him to carry on with his disruptive antics in South Korea. His actions, however, have escalated far beyond disrespect. They've entered dangerous territory by blatantly mocking cultural monuments and leveraging these moments to build viral fame. Another user offered insight into the reasoning behind South Korea's current approach. I mean, they consider him a flight risk, which is why he's not allowed to leave. They're going to prosecute him fully, and if found guilty, he'll have to serve time. Only after that will they likely deport him and ban him from ever coming back. This approach underscores the seriousness with which South Korean authorities are treating Somali's case. They're not willing to let him off lightly or risk him evading justice. Instead, they're determined to ensure he faces the full legal consequences for his actions. For many, this reflects not just a response to Somali himself, but a broader statement about the importance of respecting a country's culture, laws and symbols. Somali's situation has become a case study in how far a nation will go to hold someone accountable for blatant disrespect. Accountability has finally caught up with Johnny Somali. At this stage, his chances of leaving South Korea seem nearly non-existent. Even if an embassy were to intervene on his behalf, the damage to his reputation is undeniable. The backlash he would face upon returning to the US would likely be severe, given his pattern of stirring up chaos in multiple countries. It's clear that Somali's behaviour has spiralled far beyond his control. What began as a desperate attempt to gain online attention has snowballed into a tangled web of legal and social consequences that now seem inescapable. The question isn't whether he'll face punishment, but rather how severe it will be, and whether it will finally put an end to his reckless and antagonistic behaviour. One recent post captured the growing sentiment towards Somali, showing him provoking South Koreans and eventually suffering the consequences. The caption read, "Too satisfying not to share. A nuisance influencer named Johnny Somali is going around cursing, antagonizing and disrespecting citizens and culture. I have a feeling his days there are short." The prediction appears accurate. Somali's days in South Korea seem numbered, but the question remains, will he be deported soon, or will he first serve time in prison? If he ends up behind bars, Somali is unlikely to find any sympathy. From fellow inmates to the officers, the hostility he has stirred up ensures his experience will be far from comfortable. The sheer level of public frustration with Somali has reached a point where many feel deportation alone would be far too lenient. One commenter summed up the sentiment bluntly. "I'm against violence, but I wouldn't step in to help him, nor would I pour water on him if he was on fire." Somali's antagonistic antics have left him isolated, with even the mildest gestures of support from the public becoming a rarity. His path forward looks bleak, and his once controversial online persona now feels more like a cautionary tale of arrogance gone too far. Individuals who behave like this often have to learn their lessons the hard way. This sentiment perfectly captures the widespread anger toward Johnny Somali. His blatant disregard for cultural norms, shameless provocations, and relentless push for attention have left him completely isolated. Sympathy for him is virtually non-existent. For many, Somali has crossed far too many lines to deserve an easy way out of his current predicament. Considering his extensive history of offences and the serious legal trouble he now faces, it's difficult to imagine Somali leaving South Korea without enduring significant consequences. Even if he somehow manages to exit the country, the damage to his reputation is irreversible. His name has become synonymous with serial provocation, a label that will likely follow him wherever he goes. This notoriety will limit his opportunities and expose him to further backlash in any community or country he tries to enter. The question remains, how far can someone like Johnny Somali push the boundaries before facing the ultimate repercussions? Is this finally the end of his international stunts, or will he find a way to evade the consequences yet again? Let's discuss. What do you think? Will Somali manage to slip through the cracks one more time, or has the world finally reached its breaking point with influencers like him? This situation raises important questions about accountability and how much a person can provoke and disrupt before the consequences become unavoidable. Share your thoughts on what this case says about the limits of tolerance for such behaviour.